Hello and welcome to Bourbon Over Baseball. I am Jeff, and we also have Matt here. Say hey.
How's it going?
Heck yeah. So this is kind of a random one. I kind of wanted to, Matt and I kind of wanted to get everybody tied into this fun league we're doing, all through the virtual world, through the, magic of Tabletop Simulator, which I know we've mentioned it here before, but, we thought it was a good opportunity with, everybody still being, pretty locked down in their houses, finally have a way to play Showdown. I would say as close to in person as we'll ever get. It felt like a good way to, get a whole crew of us kind of around the country, or at least half of us around the country, to get into a league to, kind of try tabletop, but also kind of try a different league. So what we're doing here is we're actually going to talk a little bit about the league we're doing. We're going to show kind of a little bit of the draft and then kind of do a team breakdown and the things that we think are great, the things we think are not great. But yeah, so basically we are doing the big thing here, and it's going to sound weird, is that we are doing a NL only draft is what this one has been called, or an NL only league. And what that is that feels funny in a year with no designated hitter, or at least only designated hitter, to now do a league that is no designated hitter. And so that's really the big thing with this showdown, is that pitchers are batting. I've never played that way, Matt. I don't think you have either.
Very rarely.
Right.
Never not in a full blown league, just for like shits and giggles. But
right. So like, if anybody's listening to this, we've talked about it, through the 2001 podcast about, just how that would play and really, and I'll go through the rules and, really quickly, but, we've only played a few games, so I'm going to kind of not mention those because I don't want to get that kind of let that infiltrate my thoughts of the team grades. But it's interesting. It matters. There's been some really bizarre tactical decisions going on. I mean, I really have loved it so far, just because I think it's just another element of making Showdown just, a little bit different. I mean, at the simplest, it can just be a blast, just rolling the die. But I think, finding those easy ways to kind of layer strategy on has been great. And I think this one has been a really good example of that. So anyway, really, the really quick breakdown is, like I said, pitchers are batting. And what that means is that it is by default on the pitcher's chart. So pitcher pitching, pitcher batting, it's always going to be in the pitcher chart. So the only thing is there, and we play with mistake pitches, and we've also instituted something called a perfect pitch, is that if a one is rolled, you get to roll a 24-sided die. So it does give the pitcher a better chance for, maybe getting on base, but it's still pretty low. And then the perfect pitch, which is a new rule we're trying, is that if the pitcher rolls a 20, you get a -1 on the swing, which has mattered. I think it's a good balance because the mistake pitch pretty much puts it in the batter's favor, and at least perfect pitch, I wouldn't say it evens it out, but it's close. So, and then other than that, I mean, you can look at the screen. I've had it up. Really, I would say there's nothing new that we've done here. I mean, we've had our normal sack bunt, normal sack bunt, normal, ground balls, out of position players. The new one we instituted was errors, so that if the infield roll is less than a 10 with your defense, that's an error and everybody advances. And then same thing with an outfield, except it's 5. So very low chance. I haven't seen it so far. Matt, I don't think you've seen it so far.
Nope. I think most teams went with like the 4 outfield and the 9 infield minimum, so that way you don't even have to deal with it. I think I have like a 7 or 8 infield. I haven't had that issue yet, though.
Right. I think the lowest I've seen is a 6 infield, and so in theory that should show up 20% or so of the time, and didn't show up once, right? And they they had a ton of ground balls in one game I was watching. So anyway, that's kind of the breakdown of the rules. I think let's jump into the draft pool really quick. I want to, this is 2001 only. It's the NL teams only. We added in the Astros because they were in the NL at that time. And it's an interesting batch. It was very bizarre to draft. I mean, you can see here that, there is some huge heavy hitters towards the top. And the one thing I think you can notice is that there is pretty limited stellar pitching. I think with the 2018 set that, Matt was part of, 2019, this 2020, is that we've seen pretty consistently amazing pitching, pretty much littering the entire top of the board. And in this case, with how we kind of ciphered it off with the NL only for 2001 set, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, it eliminated a lot of big 2001 AL pitchers. You know, the Pedro. That's probably the biggest one, obviously. But
right.
I mean, Mussina, and I feel like there's probably an unlimited amount. Even like the two control like Yankees guys aren't terrible.
No,
but there's a lot of guys that we wish we could have had for this draft.
And I think it's worth mentioning that the highest point player not picked was Tom Glavine, a control 3, which people say we're staying away from control 3. And then the next one is 470 is John Lieber, basically the same card. So it's people were if you didn't, D'Amico got drafted, but pretty much if you wanted anything above a control 3 stellar starter, it was Maddox, it was Kevin Brown, and it was maybe Julian Tavares and Livan Hernandez if you want to get there. But again, those are guys that, if you roll on the pitcher's chart, there's a lot of chances to get on base. So really, this came down to pretty much Kevin Brown and Greg Maddux being those only two, which was pretty interesting. And as you can probably expect, and I'll hit the draft now, they went quick. Kevin Brown was the number 1 pick, which did not surprise me. And then even with the second pick, went to Al Leiter, who is a fantastic card.
Completely threw me off.
Right. That one was I was not expecting it. I thought it would go Kevin Brown, Greg Maddux. That was my 1-2.
So when I found out I had the third pick, I made my list and I had Brown, Maddox, Bonds. And I'm like, okay, Maddox and Brown will be gone. My assumption was Brown was going first. I'm getting Maddox or Bonds because I had the third pick. And I'm like, okay, I can live with that. And then Leiter goes, and I'm like, I actually have to decide.
Right. What made you choose Bonds over Maddox?
Kind of just saying, fuck it.
That's what I thought it was.
Because at that point, I'm a huge Barry Bonds fan. Like, I really don't care if he took steroids or not. I just don't. And you don't hit that many home runs, even with steroids, without being an incredible hitter that he already was before that.
Exactly.
So
right.
I grew, like in 2000, 2001, I was 11, 12 years old. And my dad was big into in 98, it was the McGuire and Sosa home run race. And we'd always watch, ESPN would do the quick cut for the McGuire at bat, the Sosa at bat. So then when Bonds started doing it, we'd do the same thing. It'd be summertime, 10:30 at night, San Francisco starts a game. I'd be getting ready for bed or whatever I was doing as a 12-year-old. And my dad would poke him, see if I was up, and be like, hey, Bonds is coming to bat. And then go out and watch his at bat. And he was hitting a lot of home runs. So it was just, he's one of the sentimental, I guess.
For sure. And honestly, this whole batch of guys, I would say everybody in this league is just big baseball sports fans and just love the game. And we're just having fun. I think this was this was a great way for us to just all try something out and just have a blast. And it's nothing on it. There's no money. There's no,
right.
There's nothing like that. We're just really playing because we love playing. And I actually looking back, I regret not trying. I was trying something out here, which I kind of did, but I regret not trying something else way different.
Me too.
Yeah. So which I know I'm going to try that the next time, is just kind of force myself into it. So Bonds went third, which, not crazy. I looking at the draft pool now, I could not have expected who was going to not go. And, honestly, I'm not surprised that, or I guess I am a little bit surprised that the top, out of the top 30 players or so, pretty much all of them got picked.
Yeah.
They pretty much all got, pretty much picked over. And a lot of that came that, everybody, it was pretty littered, that everybody got their high point players, went straight to value, trying to get low point players, and then towards the end realized how much money they had and then started spending. So Greg Maddux, I think, was the steal at 4. I think that was just the no-brainer. And then this is where I think the drop-off happened, right? I just think that if I go back to the draft pool here, if again Bonds, Maddux, who was it? And then Leiter, and then Kevin Brown. Yeah. I pretty much had Kent, McGuire. I mean, Helton, Bagwell. You had some just bonkers good cards, but again, all very expensive. And we were. It's worth mentioning we were on a 5,000 point salary, and then we did how many play? Did we do 23
We
player?
we did 18 rounds, and then you got to pick guys up.
Yeah, and then how many? It was okay. So yeah, 8 position players, 4 starting pitching, 5 relievers or closers, and then you had to have 3 bench, but you could have more.
Yeah.
So again, we were forcing bench, which again, I was going to punt on bench. I'm realizing now it mattered more, which is again one of those things. But that's where I had no clue how 5 was going to go. My plan was probably starter, but then once I was hoping Maddox and Brown would come to me, they didn't. I should have expected that, and I've beaten a dead horse talking about how I think a number 1 hitter kind of accomplishing multiple things at once matters. And I thought Bobby Abreu kind of checked all those boxes pretty solidly, that he was on base 10. He was speed A. He's great outfield, and his chart is, pretty good, not really bad at all. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to lock up the number 1 spot in my lineup, pick him, and then we're calling it a day. It was really between him and Helton. Because I think Helton's card is just phenomenal, given it doubles at 14, singles at 8, 1-2 out. I mean, he's just so damn good. But I think the question was more like I would probably batting Helton 2 or 3, and I just really wanted to lock up the 1 spot. So going down, at this point, Helton goes, Hidalgo goes. No surprise with Hidalgo. He's +3 center field. And again, checking multiple boxes at once. That card is just bonkers good. Vlad goes, no surprise there. And then it was kind of another round of starters. Daryl Kyle went, and he's great. That card's great. I had Tony Armas Jr. in one of our leagues, and he was the only good part of my team. Everything else was really bad. So I felt like, it's not my ideal number 1 starter because I usually like a bonkers good number 1 starter, but there weren't any left. So Tony Armas Jr. became my bonkers number 1 good starter. And so, felt great to get him. Randy goes after me. That's probably the best control, that's probably the best control 3 that was out there. D'Amico was number 1, but Bob goes Sammy Sosa, no surprise there. And then Matt, what made you take Gary Sheffield?
So I was planning on going pitcher, and then the 3 that I was looking at all went. And I was like, well, I could either pay down for a starter or take one of the best hitters available left.
Right.
And so I was like, what lineup wouldn't want Barry Bonds and Gary Sheffield? And
well, and that's not even telling the whole story. And God, I can't wait to show this. So that pick goes. Larry Walker goes next. Pretty much with the 15th pick, we started going value. Larry Walker is an incredible value. I love that card for 340. That was on the team that was really bad. He was pretty good, but not great. But I like that pick there. It's not the worst. But then I think the pick of the first 2 rounds, no question, is my boy Kevin picking Craig House with the 16th pick, which is, I don't know if I can call it a good pick, but I fucking love it because, Craig House is if you don't know, he's 10 points. He's a control 3. And he is a reliever that is it's out through 14, which is not great, but he's 15 to 19 walk, which in Showdown walks are great. I mean, they're way better than singles. You giving up walks is okay. And then 20 single for him. So I expected him to go kind of early-ish, but I didn't expect number 16,
Yeah.
So
I didn't see him going that early, and he did.
And truthfully, like we've talked about this, like Craig House, and I think in Craig House in the pennant run, he's probably with that card, probably 90 points ish, maybe 100, like should actually be. And like CC, same thing. Like CC, people think CC's card, like they kind of rat on that card because they're like, oh, he's like, he's not actually good. Well, no, he's not good, but he's 10 points and he should actually be probably 120 points.
Yeah.
So
I always equate it to that Odalis Perez because he's a 3 out through 15. 5 innings pitched for 150 points, and CC for 1 less outs, only 10 points.
Exactly. So again, that's the play there. You're putting someone in hoping they can be okay. And I think Craig House, I mean, for 10 points to get a reliever that can I think you could put into a game that matters, which is huge.
I probably wouldn't try to, but if it's my last option.
Exactly. So yeah, pretty much beyond there was nothing really quick, just kind of show Scott Sauerback reliever, another great low cost reliever goes early. I would say at that point, value started happening quickly. That's where, my third pick ended up being Mike Hampton, pennant run for the Rockies. Because I think he's actually pretty good value for what he is. But I was probably reaching farther down for starters than I should have. But so let's jump over to the actual teams itself, kind of. And like we said, at the end of the draft, if you were done with your team, you're done. But then there was each person kind of went through a waiver wire in theory. And we don't have, it is showing, I should zoom in so you can't see the stats because I don't want to show everybody what they've been doing so far. Let me see if I can zoom in here. It's going to show it, but let me see if I can.
What are you trying to do?
It's going to show all the stats for they've been doing.
It's whatever.
So you'll get it. Yeah, you'll just get a little bit of a taste.
It's a 4-game sample size. Nothing is set.
Right. So we'll kick off with mine. I think it's it's an interesting one. My strategy was don't give a shit about infield. Try to get great pitching. Focus is early-ish on relieving, which I did because I ended up taking Trevor Hoffman because I wanted one stellar reliever because I have not done that in past leagues and it's come out to bite me. And then really was just getting, once I locked up Bobby Abreu, number one, I wanted just some solid hitting behind him. So what I had, pretty much my batting lineup has been Abreu. I got Alou late because I had the money. And he's good, not great. I think the card cost is right around where it should be. And then Jose Vidro, Charles Johnson, Galarraga, Cirillo. So I feel really good about my front six. I did not expect it to work out as well as it did in a lot of ways. I think that that's where I got better batting because I just gave up some points on the pitching. But my 7-8 are just pretty bad. It pretty much Tom Goodwin's okay, but Jack Wilson's bad, and then that goes into. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Jack Wilson's card is pretty good for what it is, but my starting pitching is okay. I'd say it's good at best, and I do like my. I pretty much have Trevor Hoffman. Wayne Gomes is solid. Vladimir Nunez is a control 3 2 IP reliever, so he shows up when he needs to. So, and so far I don't mind it. I'm 1-3 so far. I could say that. I really did not get the Royals one game, so I think it should have been closer, but or really 2 games. But I mean, if I don't know, you can tell me what your score could be, and I know the first team is usually hard to kind of kind of hard to do, but I mean, I felt pretty solidly at mine at a B minus.
Like and looking at your starting, like you go, oh, this isn't that good, but like in this league. That's a really pretty good rotation. I mean, you have no guy is going to get lit up to the point your whole team is like in trouble.
Right. And I'll show this page. And again, there might be some differences just because of the waiver wire. So just take that in. But yeah, Tony Armas is control 4 out through 16. Mike Hampton, control 5 out through 15 or 14. Adam Eaton was an interesting one. And actually that should be 17 to 19, but control 5 out through 14, very similar to Hampton. He's actually the one that got lit up due to bad rolls. So take that for what it is. And probably, Garrett Stevenson was the biggest wild card for me. He was one of the last guys I took. I liked the cost. Control 4. Again, that should be, I think 17 through 19 or 17 through 18. But he gives up 2 doubles, which is not good, but it hasn't shown up. That's only 1 game. But like I said, I took Trevor early. I locked up my starting, and then I pretty much went for those control 9 heavy hitters, which Cirillo's not really that, but I think he, it's 5 and 6 in the lineup kind of works out. So
I mean, I like your hitting. Like you said, it's tough to just judge after This is the first team I saw, but I mean, you have the big hitters, Abreu and Alou, and then you got Charles Johnson, and it's kind of hard to just kind of judge it all.
Right. I mean, I love my 1-2-4, Abreu, Alou, Vidro, Charles Johnson. I just have loved it, and
Yeah,
I punted infield. I tried, didn't really care to get it, and it still just happened to work out, which is fine. Charles Johnson being an arm 6 is not great, but there's not a ton of, I mean, the A's don't show up as much as you think. So it really hasn't been a factor. I think when you have a deeper league, like the A's are sparing, and and I think that when we have leagues that are whole, every team and all that, everybody can pick up A's in a way because they exist. And so we were actually trying to do a 12-team league that would go even deeper than this, which would have been a blast, but we had to kind of settle.
I would have loved it.
Right. All right. So what do you think? What do you think score for me? Is it
a B? God. Let's just set the tone. This is a B team.
I think it's a B team. I don't think there's anything that's monstrous. I think if roles work out, it's an A, but if not, it could very quickly become a D or C. So, all right. So let's go to Bob. And I think there's some changes here. So I'll reference back to this, but let me go to his actual team page.
Hate Bob's team.
Yeah, he's so this again. He's 4-0. He's the only undefeated team. It's really obnoxious. It doesn't make any sense, but he has won his games by one or two runs every game. And
both games he beat me, he won by 1.
Right, which is one thing that's baffled me so far is that I expected with not much starting pitching, or at least not great starting pitching, and then there's so many good hitters that we were just going to have just shootouts. And that has not been the case so far. And I think part of it too is that people have been hitting the relief early with this the kind of the pinch hitting. Then you have to sub people out, and I think there are some great relievers in this set. But I don't know. It's also weird. They're all close games, and really only my game. I think in the whole scheme of the weeks, I got beat like 15-3. Right? It's like. That's the only one that was kind of out there, but all the rest have been, less than 3 runs, which is crazy. But I like Bob's team. I think there's a lot of things that that make sense for why he's doing well. He's been batting Griffey first, Bagwell second, Sosa or Piazza third, Sosa fourth, which really those should be.
That's a nice 4.
It's a crazy good 4. And I think that those guys have worked out, and he has a lot of guys with OPS over 1. So it's I don't know what to say there. I mean, he's been working out there, and and I'll go really quickly to here to show his starters, but he picked up Maddox. I mean, I think he was lights. I mean, you played him. I think he was lights out first game.
8 innings.
Of course, it looks like I have something wrong with the single column, but you can fill in the gap. But he's. Ben Sheets is not bad. I think for 290, I think he's a solid value. And, Mike Hampton's probably the weirdest one to do just because, Bob loves no double, which is what he doesn't do. Control 3 is really questionable in this league. And it really, I'm starting to believe, and this is what I'm going to try next time. I'm going to just show my hand. I think my next team is going to be really hitting on the control 2s around there because with playing in a mistake pitch league, it is if you could have Reg Maddox. If you roll 1s, doesn't matter. You're going to give it to the other player. You're going to give the advantage, and they're going to roll an extra die and probably bang out against you. If you have a control 2, it's the same shit. So I think that there's a certain point in my head where it's like I love starting pitching and I love having 4 great starting pitching, and it's worked out for me in the past. I shouldn't say it hasn't, but there's some part of me that wants to test out, like maybe it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, of course there's going to be those fluctuation where a control 2 will give the advantage away when a control 5 won't. That will happen, but I don't know if it's enough to justify the points. That's again, this is like a discussion topic. I don't think I'm right or wrong. I just don't know. And,
it's definitely a huge point of emphasis because if you're using a 2 after 17, it's going to take a lot to get hits on his chart, which is nice.
Right.
And it's just fascinating. I almost did that in our 2019 draft, and then I went the other way.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try that we'll probably end up doing a 2020 one, and I think that's what I'm going to do. But it's like, I'm going to have to force my tendency to like, just, try to honestly get a lineup like you have that will show just bangers and some great relievers.
And even if you like, and that's the craziest thing, you can plan it out and it can look great. If you just have some bad rolls and you lose, it's you lost. But just like in our 2018 league, a guy with 3 6 on base home run at 15 guys won the World Series because he got not lucky, but it paid off when it needed to.
Right.
I don't think there's any one single strategy that works.
Right.
I think it's just execution on your strategy and then a little bit of luck.
Right. I really like Bob's team. There's not much I don't like here. I think it really, really worked out for him. I mean, probably the worst part of this is his relief staff, but even Felix Heredia and who's his other good reliever? Veras. I think having 2 shutout guys is fine. I think that, he can throw the rest of Reyes, Armanza, and who's the other? He picks Sauerback early.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to show up often. And I think that even if they're the middle guys that need to kind of fill an inning, especially if it's going to be batting towards the bottom of the lineup, I think that works out. So
I think the key is you have to get his starters out before their normal IP.
Yep.
Because with Maddox being a 6 control, he's going to run them 7-8 innings every game. So you got to get to him.
I realize I play Maddox next. I realize I play Bob next, and I'm going to face Maddox. So that's going to be horrible. Yeah, but I think, even going plus, I think Bob it feels like even with taking out the 4-0, because again, that's only 4 games. That doesn't mean anything. I think he's a solid A.
Yeah, I was going to say an A.
I think that this team could probably be the winner of our league. I think it's just going to be interesting to see it play out. So
yeah, I think his biggest weakness, if you call it a weakness, is if you have a fast team, you can take advantage of his catcher, but you only get 3 steal attempts per game. So you have to use them really smart.
Yep. But even like I played someone, I think, I played for someone else's team playing Bob. You'd think with an arm or a 3-arm for Piazza that you'd be stealing left and right. You don't. It's just like, even with your speed Bs, it's enough. 13 or higher is good odds, but it's not crazy. And like, I just didn't do it as often as you would think. So I think it's, again, very situationally. With A's, I would probably pretty much be going all the time, but I can hope in my case that Abreu gets on base. The one thing I'm lucky with is the back of my lineup is pretty much speed A's. So I hope they can get on base, maybe sack bunt with my pitcher, and then get it to Abreu to hit him in. But again, that's a lot of things going right at once, so you just don't know. So
and like his 3 outfield, I just love bringing it up because it's funny to me. In our 2 games, I sent my runner from second 4 times. He needed to roll an 18 or higher to get me. He got me 3 times.
Yep. It's just like, and that's the thing.
It's crazy.
Right. And that's such a good point. Cause like I think we all put a lot of emphasis on outfield defense. Mm-hmm. Definitely more than infield, which I do believe. But to your point, like, I've got Abreu, got a, +2 outfielder, like, mattered, and I think I ended up being a 5 or 6 outfield. But like, what is that? We're talking about a difference between 3 and 5 or 6. It's in the scheme of a 20 game league, that might show up once or twice. Probably in theory should show up once or twice. And like, maybe that's the case of you losing 1 or 2 runs, and it's probably overvalued. Again, I think through Peter, honestly, like, just kind of, I became a disciple that like defense is just not as important as you think. And I think, like, again, this next league is going to be it's going to be me, punting on pitching, punting on all defense. And again, Abreu, even if he was +0 left field, right field, which he wouldn't be as much as he is, he would still be pretty good. Again,
he's
it's
still
just
a really good player.
It's not like you go away from these guys just because they have that. It's just you don't pay as much attention to it probably. So, anyway, interesting there. But Bob's team, A, really good. And one thing I should mention too is that our 2 leagues here, our 2 divisions, is there's Cleveland and there's not Cleveland, because 4 of the guys here are from Cleveland, and then the other 4 are not from Cleveland. We've got one from Jersey, one from Georgia, Austin, Texas, and from Kansas, I believe. So kind of all over the place. So So let's go to Matt's team. So actually, just 1, 2, 3, just knock out the Cleveland teams. So,
Yeah,
yeah, you want
I
to
think
give us
they're in order by our division as the first four.
that's true. Do you want to give us a breakdown and kind of how this went?
All right. Well, so I finally went pitching after Sheffield, and I got two starters. I went with the 5 control, and I really didn't have a high IP because I figured I'm going to be pinch hitting, And then Jim Edmonds was there, and I'm like, well, why not, right? I think my biggest reach was probably Rick White.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could have waited, but I knew that way with my 5 IP starter, I have a reliever that's a 5 that can go 2 innings. And in theory, it was great. He hasn't played very well when I've used him, but I liked the idea. And then Luis Castillo, I got my leadoff hitter. I got a 10, my only speed A. And I thought that was huge for me just to get that leadoff guy that's going to, for, as you see, Bonds, Sheffield, Edmonds. And then Cliff Polite was kind of like my let's try this out and see what happens.
Right.
And Odalis Perez, kind of back to the CC thing. He's a anchor starter that is my third starter that I'm not expecting great things from, but you just hope. And then I don't know, like Tim Bogar was hilarious to me. It's my +4 shortstop. He's my 8 hitter, and he was leading my team in RBIs for a while, but now he's tied with a couple of other guys that are okay too.
Right.
I mean, Leskanic, Looper, Rodriguez. I was like, I'm going to get my bullpen set so that way when my starters do come out early, I'm okay.
Yeah, and they're all really good, really good.
And that was kind of my plan. I like having a good bullpen. And then Mark McGuire at that point was just funny to me. I was like, I'm going to have McGuire, Bonds, Sheffield, and Jim Edmonds. Like, all my runs are going to come from that, or I'm not going to score.
Right. And it's
so
that was to
funny.
me, like during the draft, that was around the time we were all kind of starting to really like, it's like as if we were in the room together. We were all kind of looking at each other with squint eyes being like, who's going to take like these? Cause like, if I go to the draft pool, it was like McGuire, Ellis Burks was available, Alou, Jeff Kent, Giles, Vanderwall. I mean, there were still some heavy hitters available for the majority of the draft. And it was just a game at the end of who's going to take who. And like I said, you took McGuire. I was between, I believe it was Alou and Vanderwall. I think I actually have Giles, Vanderwall, and Alou all available at the same time. And I just decided Alou because I knew he was batting second and I wanted the more of the single range. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, just really, that was like the fun part to me because I was just like, Matt is just fucking going for it,
Yeah, and it was funny, and like you said, this is for fun. And I'm like, it's a 20-game sample size. Let's see if I can hit some bombs. And then I took Pujols late because I had points left, which allowed me to take Kevin Jordan out of my starting lineup, which is nice. And then my last pick, Steve Klein, that's one more bullpen arm. So like I was pretty happy with how my team turned out. It hasn't worked out effectively yet, but I have faith.
Right. I mean, it's like you would think with that much in your lineup that it's like, oh man, he's got to have some fucking garbage starters, garbage relievers. And honestly, that's not the case. I mean, that's why it's really interesting to me because like you still have I would say 3 starters that are legitimate. Really Polite is the only one that's questionable. But again, if roles happen, it just, you get it. It happens,
But that's the thing. Polite's the same tier as Odalis Perez.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, they both actually, I think Perez may have had a worse start. Not that a 1-game sample size matters. Oh, no, Polite got rocked. Perez went 5 innings scoreless.
Wow.
So he was my one win.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, my gut, and I know this, like, I feel like this is a solid B+. I mean, I think it kind of does a lot of things better, but I feel like there's more, it's definitely more of an X factor, right? I think it's definitely like you're just fucking banking on the batter rolls. And if you don't get them, you won't win. And if you do, you will. I mean, it's just,
and they haven't come yet. That's the best way to put it. I have a lot of solo home runs.
Right. And that's the thing. What you would think with those guys up front, especially most of them being 1-3 or 1 through. I mean, McGuire's 1-2 out.
Yeah, I think Bonds and Sheffield are 3.
They are, and then Edmonds is the only 1-4.
Yeah.
You would think that, that's they're going to get on base, but it's just I've seen with a lot of high on base guys, even those who rake, that it's tough. Sometimes it's tough to just get them on and then get them home. So it really is just going to be a home run game. So, again, I feel this is, again, and maybe we might have to readjust this again, kind of again creating that baseline. But I like you at a solid B+. I think it's a fun team. So I would like to I would be a season ticket holder of this team. Is what I'm trying to say.
There's definitely going to be fun with this team. It just depends on if I'm able to get those wins when needed.
Right.
Because I mean, I'm 1-3, so I need to start winning. Since it's only 20 games, I figure I'm going to need, top 2 in each division make the playoffs?
Yeah, so I'll go back, top 2 in the division based on record, and then division record being the tiebreaker will make
I would say that you probably need 13 wins to make the playoffs.
Yeah, probably. It's going to be crazy with the division record, especially if Bob just keeps annihilating us.
That means he'll just win the division.
Right. No, that's true. But our records are just going to be really bad in the division. It's just going to, it's almost like the freaking AFC North right now, that it's like, the Steelers are just running away with it. But, the rest of us are just kind of fighting for each other for, 2. And unfortunately in this division, there's no 3 spot, but at least in football there is. So, but yeah. So anyway, I'm going to give it a B+. I don't know if do you agree or disagree with that?
I'll take it. I think my weaknesses as a team is the end of my lineup, which I really don't care about because like I said, I just want the beginning guys. If a pitcher can get through my first 5 hitters without giving up a run, they're in good shape.
Yeah,
and then I think my starting is weak, but my bullpen and my big hitters, I think, is what's going to hopefully get me to the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to watch. I've watched a lot of these games. I've kept score for a lot of them. It's really interesting to see a team like Matt's where, like, I mean, again, so a lot of these teams I have 1 great reliever, 2 good ones, and then 2 just kind of okay. And I would say that's a pretty solid, probably on average, it comes out to around that. When these guys show up, like you have to throw in your best reliever. Like you don't have a fucking choice. And so it's not like you think you can survive with, oh, you know what? My control 4 just went down to a control 3. I think I'm going to keep them in. Like you just can't. Right. Because that's you basically giving the game away. And we always joke about it that you play to win, right? You play your best guy at any given moment. And I think that kind of reflects in Showdown. So,
and that's kind of my hope is that I have to force starters out earlier with those guys, but I need them to actually start getting some hits early, which hasn't happened yet.
Right. So, all right. So let's go. Now we're going to go to the Lieber Maniacs.
Lieber.
So it looks like, I think it's in actually right order here. Let me take a look. I don't think there's many things that have changed. So this team, I've actually been playing for this team a lot just because Jeff has been out, but it's an interesting team. His pitching is kind of all over the place. Like Chan-Ho Park is great. Randy is a weird card. Person and Haynes are good. I'll flip back here. The most fun part of this team that I've just had a blast playing with is no question Ron Gant. This card fucking rocks. I just don't know how else to put it. I think for 370, it's like maybe one of my favorite 2001 cards now.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so good. I mean, like double at 14, triple at 15, home run range. I mean, I just love it. I mean, I wish I could bat him higher, but you know what? His lineup has been going. If I look here, yeah, he picked up Giles late. I'm going to bring this up because Matt and Bob and we disagree. I disagree with them. Been batting Brian Giles 1 because he's the most points, and I think the most point player should get the at bats. Jason Kendall 2, and then who is the 3? Because I know that it's not Gant.
It was Chipper.
Oh, it's Chipper. You're right below. So Chipper goes 3, and it's just so interesting too. I mean, Jeff he filled starters, filled relievers, and then got his power hitters late. I mean, it's just a really interesting, because again, like, is there such a difference between Brian Giles going late or going early, or even Vanderwall getting picked? And it doesn't. Like, so it's, I mean, the big question here is, do you bat Giles 1 or 2? In traditional baseball rules, you should get Kendall first because he's faster and he's speed A, and then he gets on base. But I might toy it around with it just because, again, I've been playing for this team. It's not my team, it's but it's
Not my team.
not. I got to start that hashtag. But I do like this team. I don't think their starting is been questionable at times. The great part of this team, no question, is its relief staff. The relief staff gets a solid A+. I mean, he's got Matt Manti, who just rips. He's got Billy Wagner, who's also great, but the big one here, and I think he went early, was Gabe White. Gabe White went, and even Mark Waller's second. I mean, that's a value for 90 there. So his relief staff is solid. I mean, if I can get to if it's a close game in the middle of the, towards the middle of the game, I can shut it down with all these guys. And it has. I mean, pretty much Robert Pearson and, Randy and all these guys have given up runs, but I've just been able to, kind of fend it off with these relief staff. So, so far I'll go to it like they're 1-3. The hitting has been good, but I think they've just, these guys have given up. I don't actually think they've given up a ton of runs. Let me see. So pretty, and actually Gabe White has been, I think he had there was one game I think I remember was pretty bad, but the pitching has not shown up probably as well as it should have so far. But Randy was actually probably the best out of all of them so far. Actually, Robert Pearson, no, it was Randy. There it is. I don't know. Like, there's nothing other than the relief. There's nothing that, like, I don't know. Like, let me know what you think before I even say my score.
Yeah, I mean, I like his starting. I think it's going to do better than it did the first go round.
Mm-hmm.
I think like Park is fantastic, and I think Randy's going to do damage. And I've seen Robert Pearson do well. He was always on my 01 teams back in the day because he was cheap. Like, he was like my fourth starter a lot of times. So I think this team's going to do pretty well. I think his bullpen is where you're going to get him. Just like I think most teams, the bullpen's where you're going to get him. Yep. Because his first four also another good top four.
Yeah. It's kind of a consistent trend with those first four being rock solid and then just kind of trailing off a bit there. And like,
yeah,
I mean,
and his team, I mean, he's got Magadan and Council, who are both guys that don't really do big damage, but they're high on base.
Yep.
And will get singles. And then like Rondell White's another good option. So like he has a pretty deep lineup, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and I love the Rondell White card. I was close to picking that. It's also worth mentioning, we haven't really talked about it, but the bench has mattered. The bench gets played, the pinch hits happen, and even the pinch runs. And I love that's why playing his team has been interesting, because I punted on bench, and his team, he got Mike Dar, which is a fantastic card for what it does. It's the perfect pinch hit card, because he doesn't lose, especially like he comes in. He can actually replace. I don't know if he would replace an outfield. I've never done that because I don't think it makes sense, because the Skiles, maybe he could replace Rondell White. I don't know why you would, but
yeah, I would just use him as like a pinch runner maybe for Magadan,
right?
Or exactly. A pinch hitter,
right? And then Wally Joyner, I mean, can come in. He's on base 8, and then Lenny Harris, he picked a DH for the bench. I mean, and yeah. We've talked about how DHs in these sets in 2000, 2001 always are pretty good. That's just the biggest downside, is that you can only use them as the DH. So
yep.
I love his bench hitting. And I mean, I don't think it's been a huge difference maker, but again, if I was looking at this team prior to those games, I would have thought it was pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, there's nothing though, as I say this, that screams out to me as I've been playing that this team should be taking games away and should be winning.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's probably like a C+ to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, in the equation, like, it doesn't match up with Bob's team. I don't think it matches up with my team or your team. So
yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and just for now just do the C, and again we can just readjust these.
I think his pitching makes him better than a C. I think that starting rotation is gonna help him be a lot better in the long run.
Right, then I'll do the C+. I agree with that. I think that. And again, it all depends on the roles. I mean,
yep.
I think that, when last time we did draft grading, I think the team we gave like a C ended up winning the whole thing. So
yep, that's usually how it goes.
Right. Everything we're saying could not matter. Right. So,
right. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It's just fun
to help you guys get through work.
Right. All right. So let's get next. So the Get Wrecked Scrubs. This is our boy out in New Jersey. He made a lot of changes. So I think this actually ended up being what his team is. So it's just a lot of changes here towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting, went Hidalgo, Guerrero, just big hitting guys, and then pretty much when starting. I loved the Julian Tavares pick. I was on the fence about getting that. I just didn't know if I wanted to have like 4 guys who could like give up an on base at 15. That's the part I was struggling with. I actually, even though it makes no sense, I kind of love the Livan Hernandez. I just love them back to back. I think that it should work out for him. I think it has so far. And even Brad Penny there at 310. I think it's the right. I do really, really like his starting pitching. I think even him having a couple great relievers. I'm trying to remember. I mean, again, this is like I'm trying to think, trying to remember if I played him. He's got Blanco at the catcher. He got Rocker late. He has solid relieving. I think the biggest weakness I've seen is probably the hitting. I think I've seen him be on the receiving end of good roles. But again, Hidalgo, Guerrero, Cliff Floyd. We all love the Cliff Floyd card. Very similar.
He's got 4 9s that mash.
Right. But then beyond that, it's pretty much Phil Nevin, who's still really good. But then
I was including him in the 9s.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the 4. So he's got his 4 there. I like those 4.
And then 3 8s. So he's got high. Actually, I don't know what Loretta is. I was thinking of his OO card, but Polanco and Sexton are both 8s.
Man, I really like how this team is set up. I mean, I just think that it's set up to succeed in a lot of different ways, even with something not working out.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is the whole theory I have of even if you have control 6s, if we roll 1s, it doesn't matter, which is true. But, I think that the only way this team could lose is if they don't score runs and that their control and that the other team rolls 15, 16, 17, 18 walks and singles on your chart. That's
inconsistency. If it's 1 an inning, you're okay. But when it's back to back.
Yep. Like these guys are going to have terrible whips, but that's okay. As long as it wins,
Yep. And I think his bullpen, and this is one of those, if his starter has a bad game and he's got to go to Kevin Walker or Fetters, then you can, if you get to Lira and Jeff Brantley, but if you don't get to them and you're facing the other 3, I think that's where he's going to be successful.
As
I'm like Rocker too, so yeah.
I mean, I kind of put this team. I put
it with Bob.
You put it with. I was going to say B+, A-. I think that Bob being an A, I feel like this is a pretty solid A-.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's enough things here that should go right that should result in wins.
Because I like to look at the weaknesses, and I think his weakness is his 4th starter, which everybody's weakness is their 4th starter in this league.
Yep.
And like you said, maybe high rolls happening on people's charts.
It's just pitcher charts.
I think I could see him being that division's winner.
Yeah, I agree with that. He has real good depth at reliever, which is I forgot. I never played. I don't think I played this. No, I did. I played this team, and dude, all those guys are great. I mean, Kevin Walker's great. Fetters is great. Rocker's psycho, but that's a great card. He
had a good strategy of I'm going to make sure at least you're rolling on my chart most of the time.
Yep.
With those 5s and 6s.
Which has worked out. So, I mean, I think so far, I think he's 2-2. And let me check. It's this right here. He's 3-1. So that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think that's probably the winner of that division. So, all right. So I'm going to go solid A- on that. Let's scroll down here. The next team. So win, dance, repeat. So this is I've probably watched this. I've played a lot of the games or doing scoring for them. It's a fun team. He has this one. So I should probably put a disclaimer at the beginning. So when we talked about the pitchers, we talked about them always batting on the pitcher's chart, as in the pitcher they're pitching it, they're receiving the pitch from, right? Not necessarily meaning that you could actually roll on your own pitcher chart. So I should probably preface it that our guy, win, dance, repeat thought that by having starters that could home run, that maybe that meant that they could home run on their own chart as hitters. I love the idea and I commend him for kind of going through on that strategy, but I wish there was a correlation of pitchers who give up home runs also hitting home runs. And I think that's not the case. So
No, it's not.
maybe if there's a world, maybe if we end up doing a La La Land world where, everything's flipped upside down and we're not following normal baseball protocols, maybe in that case, we would institute something like that. But he has his starters, except for Al Leiter, who's a stud, who game one was not a stud, and game two was a stud. His starters all give up a home run. It's been interesting. It has not shown up as much as you think. Again, it's one you think it would show up more often than not. And if it does, a couple times you're going to lose. But he has, I would say his relief staff is good. I mean, he's kind of similar to mine that he has. Tom Gordon is just shut down. It's just fantastic. But then it pretty much goes, he has Swindell. Actually, Swindell and Christensen are both pretty good.
Yeah, they're both good.
But then it's kind of a bit of a drop off from there. And his hitting has been, I would say it's been good. I mean, for whatever reason, Mark Kotze has been his best batter.
And RBIs.
It doesn't make any sense.
He's played 6 games.
Yeah, he's played 6. So he's got more, but and if I go to his lineup here, he's batted, his lineup has been Furcal, Kent, Walker Steins. Or no, Will Clark, excuse me, Walker, and then Steins. It's a weak-ish top 4.
Yeah.
I do like the Will Clark card. He has done pretty good. You can see stats so far that pretty much it's been Kent, it's been Will Clark. Pretty solid on base. I mean, Will Clark's on base has been pretty stellar. But
the sad thing for Ken is he has 3 solo home runs.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
That could change his whole record if they weren't, solos. But
right. I mean, Tapani went out there and just had an unbelievable couple games. So that's been really interesting. So I think the home run thing is maybe not as huge a deal as we all thought. I mean, it shows up. I've seen the solo home runs. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how it'll play out. I think I'm more comfortable with it being a reliever that gives up the homer, but I could, if a 20 happens 3 times in a game while your starter's out there, if they're all solos, you're in good shape. Did you give up 2 hits or 2 walks before that 20 pops up? Right. That's where the game changes. I think I like to think if I can get 3 or 4 runs out of my starter, I should be in the game.
And that's kind of what it's been for him. And I mean, I like kind of your exercise of seeing the weaknesses. There's enough here, I mean, I think that definitely the starters, that's the problem. Yeah. The chart, just the specific to the charts. I think that there's not a ton of lineup depth. He definitely has some strong bench guys, which I think is worth mentioning. So he's been doing a lot of kind of flipping around where they are, where they're batting, which it's been fun to see and I don't think I've played against him yet, but it's fun to see. But yeah, I don't know.
I score kept for him one game. It's not fun to have to score keep.
Right. And I did see the one game where Al Leiter was lights out, got out of a bases loaded jam early, and then his team ended up scoring 6 runs for him. And that was pretty much the game, in the first couple innings. But I don't know. I feel like this is a B- to me.
I feel like that's even kind of kind.
Yeah, it might be closer to C+ too.
Yeah, I love Jeff Kent. That card, I love it.
Yep.
And Will Clark is good, and Larry Walker's good, but I don't think he has the offensive firepower unless Mark Kotze keeps putting up games like he's putting up right now, which is awesome. And that's the thing I've kind of noticed a lot recently in my own playing that I'm doing with 2018 cards is these 7, 6, 7, 8 on base players can do some huge damage.
Right.
And it's kind of funny, but I feel like his rotation is going to hurt him.
Yeah. I think in the long run, I just don't. I mean, this could be a 500 team, but I don't know. I just don't know. He's going to have to get a lot of luck on a lot of ways. Like again, I think I've watched all of his games, or at least score cap for them. And it's shaky. And if I look at let me look at the record so far. He's been 2-4.
He's given up 15 homers in 6 games. So he's given up over 2 a game. So it's going to be hard.
Right. And I know this is only 6 games,
right.
but I mean, that's a lot of runs giving up, and that's also a lot of runs scored. So he's doing, I mean, Kotze
he's scoring. So
right, but it's Kotze with 10 RBIs, which makes no sense because I think he's a 6 or 7 hitter.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that's going to hold up. I think 2-4 is already kind of generous. I'm with you that this might be probably a CC plus to me.
Yeah, and hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love for him to be like, ha.
I'm gonna give him the C. I'm gonna give him the C plus just for just for that, just so he doesn't get angry at me. So
I'd love to see this team in the World Series.
Yeah, no, I want to see fucking Kevin Tepani pitching in a World Series game.
Yeah.
So because it's a fun card, and hey, if pitchers ever want to get home runs, which is it's happened once, and it was a blast to see, this is the team to do it against. So there's something to be said there. So, all right, so going on next, this is another team in the not Cleveland division. This is the Chicken Hawks. This is actually the team of the guy who created the tabletop simulator mod we're using. So I think by default he just gets an A plus. So we could probably move on, right?
And looking at what he's done so far, I'd give him an A plus. But
right. But no, I love the Helton pick first. Daryl Kyle was the second. Daryl Kyle has been lights out. I mean, just his second start was I think he went complete. I think he's already gone
2 complete games.
2 complete games. And he's only given up a few runs. I mean, he's probably I know it's early. He's probably the Cy Young already.
Yeah.
He's having D'Amico pitch first, which he's been okay, but man, the 3 it's dangerous. And that's probably the only, I think between that's definitely the best control 3 that exists in this draft pool. But going deeper, I mean, I do love, let me see the pitching. Kerry Wood, I do like that pick. He's a lot of, saving money. He's got Dreher at third, who gives up the home run though. But his lineup is 1-2. Let me go to his team page. His 1, 2, 3, 4, if I remember correctly, is he has Tatis first, Helton second,
Burks.
Yep, Burks.
Because I played him my second round of games.
Yeah, and Burks should honestly probably have better stats because he has got.
Yeah, he should have a couple more RBIs.
he has been ground ball own chart outs multiple times. I've watched it, and I feel bad when it happens. And the other surprise here is that Peter Bergeron, his 9-hitter, has been just pretty good for what it is. So,
yep.
So the lineup has been working. I like the pitching. He has some solid relief staff. Again, going back to the charts itself, I love this Maselli card. He's 17, leads 18 to 20 single. But that's not even his best guy. I mean, he still has Strickland, who's control 5, out through 16. So
and Nen.
Yeah, and Nen. Holy shit. I totally forgot about Nen. That's his number 1. So, again, he's kind of supplementing the fact that he has Dreifert and he has Kerry Wood, which I think is fine. And if Daryl Kyle keeps pitching complete games and everybody's fresh for that 3-4. So
he hasn't used Maselli or Strickland yet. That can't be right.
No, I think it's probably, I know what it is. It's probably because they have the star for the pennant run. So I can fix that.
Oh, okay.
They have shown up and they're great. And so I think so far he's been, he's 3-3, which again is so tough through 6 games, but I really like this team. I mean, I think this is a B plus, but B plus to me. I kind of picture myself playing this team, and I could see myself losing to this team. And so if I'm a B, that feels about this is a little higher.
And to the home run on the pitcher's chart, Dreifert gives one up, and he faced my team, and I didn't hit one off of his chart. I hit him off of my own. So.
Right. So honestly, this might be an A- team to me.
Yeah, I think it's a step below George's team in that division, but I think it's solid, probably second best team.
Right. So I'm gonna go B plus on this. I mean, I picture, and like Greg was kind of I should say Win Dance Repeat, which is the one with all the 20 home run pitcher guys. I think he was trying something out. I think it was a lot like Matt was doing. So, it's not like it's not like all these guys are like, I'm going to get the best team I could ever put. I mean, a lot of this was like, we're just going to have some fun. And so, of course, when I say whoever's won 2 doesn't mean that, that's the end all. And it's probably won't even matter what we're saying. So,
no, it won't matter at all. I bet we'll be completely wrong.
Oh, sure. And it's fun. We'll probably do a post league podcast just to kind of go through what happened, look at the stats for each team and look at the World Series and what happened. And honestly, look at our draft grades and see how we were off. So, all right, let's go. I think it's to the last team, which is
Deuces.
The last team in the Cleveland division. This is Kevin, who plays in a lot of our the Bob leagues, here. And interesting, Kevin Brown won, Craig House 2. Pretty bizarre, So I do like his team a lot. I think this is, just kind of early, probably another B+ A- team to me. I think that I think Bob won in the league. You and I might be left out in our division, and it might be him and Kevin. I don't know, but he's got a lot of things that work for him. I like all of his starters that were picked. I mean, of course, Kevin Brown is just great. His Harnish. I mean, he's got the 2 double guys. It shows up, but I don't know if it's like game changing shows up. He was big on getting stuff late. He was actually going to pick Jason Kendall, threw off his whole strategy. He had to go in to do free agency stuff to make things work. But I'll go to his team page here. He's been batting Klesko 1, Edgardo 2, or I'm trying to think. I think it is Edgardo 2, Vanderwall.
Yeah, so.
Or no, maybe it's Vanderwall 2, Andrew Jones 3, Alfonso 4, and then it's crazy. I mean, he goes Hammonds 5, Roland 6. I mean, his lineup is stacked. I mean,
he's got a deep lineup, that's for sure.
Truly stacked. And it would have been interesting. I should have done a comparison of who spent money on pitchers versus who spent money on the hitters. But he's got probably his biggest weakness here is his relief pitching.
I think looking at him, you need to get to his bullpen, and when you're not facing Kevin Brown, that's obviously a blessing too.
Right.
I mean, that's your chance to win. I think he looks gettable.
It's the pitching is a lot more vulnerable.
I don't want to give him an A. Like Kevin Brown makes your team really good. Like he should win every game Kevin Brown starts. So that should be, 5 wins right there.
Right. But Harnish and Steve Parrish are vulnerable, no doubt.
Yeah, Guzman's good, but he's only a 4 IP.
Yep.
So you got to get to that bullpen. And I think getting to his bullpen is where you could make some noise. Because like we said, House, I mean, he might come in and give you a couple good. It looks like he's done well this season already. It's going to be real interesting. The thing that I like with this league is with the lack of depth, every team has weaknesses.
Yep, no question.
And I think when you make people carry a 20-man roster, it makes the playing fields up to strategy so much more fun.
Yep.
Because if you just go, you can carry 18 guys and you only need to worry about the guys that are playing, I think then you can, that's probably like an extra. If you do a 5,000 point team with 20 guys, that's 250 points a player. So if you only carry 18, that's an extra 500 points you could spend on batters or pitchers. When it's 20 guys, all of a sudden now, if you take a couple 500 players or 4 of them like I did, now you really got to start pinching somewhere.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The 20 originally, I was thinking just 2 bench spots. I'm really glad we went with 3, and I think if anything, looking forward, we could probably even expand the bench more. Yep. Or actually lower the salary. I mean, I just love there. I'm not a big fan. Like now, having done the Showdown thing for a while, I'm not a big fan of super leagues with everybody. I'm not a fan with just unlimited salary. I like there's an art form to condensing things in a way that, makes sense. And, I love seeing people's different strategies kind of flesh out in different ways. And so and then that's what's honestly been the most fun part of this whole league has just been seeing how people put that together in so many different ways, right? Like I would have not expected someone going into this would say, hey, I'm going to just do I'm going to do a team full of 20 home run pitchers. Or in your case, I'm going to do a team full of like murderers row of hitters, So, yeah, looking at Kevin's, I mean, I think it looked better. I've kept score for this team. I'm with you. I don't think it's an A. I don't feel like it's a B plus. I feel like it's maybe right around me with I probably looking at this would probably lower myself. I think him and I would duel. I think we'd be very close. I think probably if we played each other 100 times, it'd be 50 and 50. Maybe in the scheme of things, like I lower myself might be more like a BB minus, and he might more be a solid B. But that's what I'm thinking for the Deuces is a solid B.
Yeah, and I think that's where our division kind of is. I think Bob is the front runner, and the three of us are going to see who gets that second spot.
Yep.
And then maybe somebody will sweep them, and then all of a sudden, who knows? But I think just visually his team looks like it's the best, but we're all 5,000 point teams, so you just never know.
Right. And at the end of the season, I mean, it ends with 2 division weeks. So it's going to be me playing Bob and then me playing you. And then it's going to be,
wow.
Yeah, you playing Kevin and then Bob playing Kevin. So it's going to be, I think that's where it's going to be really interesting.
And the thing that makes it the most interesting is every week before that, it's the 1-2 starters against your division opponents. And then the last week, it's your 3-4.
Yeah.
And that's the only time your division plays the 3-4s.
Hey, and that's where you pitch your best damn reliever you have, because it's gonna reset by the time the playoffs start.
Yeah.
So we'd be remiss if we did not. So going through the grades, I'll go to the top here so you can see the records. So we're gonna go with the Thanos Snappers, which is me with a B, the Cleveland Tribe with an A, the Cleveland Steamers, which is Matt, at a B plus, the Lieber Maniacs at a C plus, the Get Wrecked Scrubs at an A minus, Win Dance Repeat C plus, the Chicken Hawks at B plus, and then the Lucy Deuces at a B. Let's make our predictions for who wins the division, and then who shows up in the World Series and who wins the World Series. All right, so you want to go first?
I'll go first. Bob's winning our division. I'm gonna take the wild card, and then Get Wrecked's gonna win his division, with the Chicken Hawks getting the wild card in his, because he's probably going to rig TTS to cheat since he designed it.
Okay, I like it.
And then, as much as I want Win Dance Repeat to get there, I'm going to pick the TTS creator. And I'm going to upset Bob in it was a 5-game series.
I think we're doing 3-game for the division. The wild
and 5.
Yeah, and then 5 for World Series.
Okay, so I'm going to lose game 1 to Maddox. I'm going to win the next 2.
I like it.
And then I'm going to face Get Wrecked in the finals. That's what's going to happen.
Who's going to win?
I'm going to win.
You're going to win? Okay, yeah. Cool. How many games?
Was it a 5-game series?
Yeah, 5-game series.
3. I'm sweeping them.
You're sweeping them in 3. Okay, I can't wait to reference back to this. All right, so my predictions are not far off. I think that I think Bob's going to take our division. I think that Kevin and I are going to be close, and he's going to take it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be Bob and Kevin. I think because of just maybe some karma in the world that Kevin should have been probably going farther in some of our other leagues. I think Lucy Deuces are going to make the World Series. And then going to not Cleveland, I think it's this is a crazy. I don't know if this is based on any fact, but I think Get Wrecked Scrubs are going to win the division. I think Win Dance Repeat is going to make a run somehow with the Kevin Tapani, just run. But I think the Scrubs are going to make it to the World Series. So I think it's going to be Deuces and Scrubs. And I think the Scrubs are going to win in 4 games. So that's our predictions. Again, this might not mean anything, it probably doesn't. But I, hopefully you've had fun listening to this. A lot of it is, again, just it all comes down to the rules, and it comes down to the dice gods. And my gosh, I hope we all have them. I know I haven't so far, but maybe it'll end up evening out. So, hey, any last remarks, Matt?
No, I think this has been tons of fun, and I'm excited to see how this keeps playing out and to see how wrong we are for sure. I think the biggest remarks is just keep thanking Japes, because this is fantastic.
Yeah, it's this is how we're able to do this. Honestly, it's been a saving grace, you know.
Yeah, it sucks. I miss getting to hang out with you guys and shoot the shit.
Honestly, like some of the most over the past couple of years, some of the most fun, you know, in the wintertime, especially when it's just awful garbage weather all the time, is that it's been being able to get into Bob's basement or any of our basements and just roll dice and kind of like, you know, escape reality for a little bit. And I think if anything right now, it's like the opposite of escaping reality. I think it's tough to escape reality. And I think this has been a way to kind of do that. So I know I've been trying to keep score for any game I can. I've had a blast kind of watching. And I think if anybody listening to this hasn't done TTS yet, you know, I know that's on sale right now. Maybe it already ended, but it's a lot of fun. And I think we would be very much willing to kind of include more people, you know, have deeper leagues.
Yeah.
And it's not crazy to kind of, you know, get into this quickly. So I'd say it's about as close as it can be to rolling in person. So
I think the more people that get it and sign up, the more fun. Because even just like while we were doing this, I saw in the Discord, like Rex was like, anybody want to play TTS? It doesn't have to be the league. Like you guys can just get in there, pick your teams, or be like, oh, I'm going to play as the 2020 Indians, or I'm going to play as the 2017 or 2018 Dodgers, and just have some fun, or do a blind draft.
Yeah, no, Matt and I did blind drafts to start. Blind drafts rule. They're the best. They're super fun, right? You just go. And no, I think that, you know, there's already some kind of beta testing, or, you know, Chicken Hawks Japes has been beta testing some multi-mat, you know, setups, right? The one we've been using is just one showdown mat, but eventually we're talking about something where it's like a tournament where you have a table of 3 or 4 mats going on at once and games are just, you know, rolling. So anyway, so yeah, major shout out to him for that. Good to note. So anyway, well, yeah, I'm Jeff. That's Matt. Yeah. Again, thanks for listening, and, you know, give us a comment and let us know what you're thinking, but, yeah, thanks so much, y'all. We'll see you.